Hello and welcome to the Brick News, the weekly show on all things brick building, where we talk about set updates and announcements from all the major brands, MOCs of the week, and I do believe we have a reading recommendation this week as well as some industry news. Information is presented as always by setdb.org, the best source for set information on the internet, and this is where we're going to go. And this week we will start with BAKA. We don't do this that often, however, they do have a new set in the market from the Valley Twilight series, the Elven Cities 33239 from BAKA. This thing has 2052 pieces. It's not a small set, it's basically 13 by 13 inches. It's gonna cost you as an import from China, in this case, around 60 to 70 bucks. So this is the third set from the series. I would say it's to a certain degree influenced by Rivendell from Lego. In general, I think it does have a design language that fits very well by the original Lord of the Rings movie series. So like I said, this is the third set from BAKA in this area. So I think the other two were the Hall of the Waterfront and then the Elven Tavern. All three of them, I think, go very well together, and I think with all of them combined, you can also build kind of a large elven city. I guess that is the idea. BAKA, I think, is a brand from the same company that is doing the Kunlong bricks that, for instance, you will find in many BlueBrixx specials. I think the ZHEGAO is also a brand of that company. So just to give you an idea what kind of parts quality to expect. With that, we're moving on to BlueBrixx, and here we do have the Crazy Alchemist's Laboratory announced 108888. We don't know much. It has 1,409 pieces. It's going to be a BlueBrixx Pro set, so we'll have like a colored box and paper instructions compared to the BlueBrixx Special sets. As I've explained in many shows before. It's an interesting set. I don't really know what the pop culture reference is. My guess is it has a certain, let's say, World of Warcraft Undercity vibe to a certain degree, but independent of that, if there's a reference or not, it does look pretty neat, actually. I would have loved to have an even bigger set, but I think this is a good entry. And for instance, I prefer this a lot more from its design language, for instance, to compare to a BlueBrixx Ravenstone Fortress, which also has a certain dark vibe, but I think this one here is even cooler. And like I said, it feels a little bit like Naxxramas Undercity kind of stuff from Blizzard. Anyhow, with that, moving on to one of the medieval sets by BlueBrixx. Here they announced that they will have a Stone Mason set 108885. So this is from the series of sets that BlueBrixx has been doing for many years. I would guess that, argue that over here in Germany at least, or Central Europe, this is what they're famous for. They're medieval, like realistic Central European medieval kind of vibe that they have in these sets going on. Anyhow, this thing here will have 1,842 pieces. It's designed by Anton, who is doing most of the medieval sets nowadays. We recently talked in recent shows about the medieval shipyard. He has taken the helm of the Blaustein Castle line of sets, and as you can see, he's doing a lot of this medieval stuff. I just recently built the print shop, and I actually have lying around the street bakery as well. So a ton of medieval stuff. So you may want to check out this designer's work if you're interested in that. It's going to be a BlueBrixx special, like I said before, Kunlong pieces, only digital instructions, no back separation. That's typically the formula of these BlueBrixx specials, but they're also quite cheap, actually. With that, we're moving on to Ravenstone Fortress. Here we have now a new expansion announced, the Gatehouse with Walls. This is going to be a BlueBrixx Pro set, like all the Ravenstone sets. However, we don't have yet the box art and stuff like that. But you can already see that you get here an expansion, basically the gatehouse as the name suggests, but also a couple of wall pieces. 1,101 pieces is what we know so far, as well as 3 minifigures, 2 of these purple zombie kind of characters that BlueBrixx is throwing into Ravenstone Fortress sets, and then a regular guy. All of them typical BlueBrixx minifigures, similar to Beerstone Fortress, these Ravenstone Fortress, which is kind of in quotes the evil counterpart to Beerrock Fortress. These things are highly modular. So you basically put them together piece by piece, and you can basically create your own castle the way you desire. Another announcement that is actually quite interesting is 108659. This is going to be sperm whale versus giant squid. To my knowledge, we have never seen one of these whales actually hunting one of these giant squids. It's just based on, what has been found in these whales' stomachs, etc., that we do know. And also the damage that they sometimes have on their skin from squid bites, basically. We do know this is what they hunt. But to my knowledge, because this is extremely deep and this stuff is happening, I think it has never been photographed or filmed or anything like that. To my knowledge, please keep me honest here. 2,645 pieces has the BlueBrixx set designed by Matteo. That's actually quite a lot. So that's quite a whale. And yeah, and the squid, I think I really like the brick design. From my point of view, the groundwork that they have also been doing here is, I don't know, it looks very colorful. I think this does not really look like deep sea, at least from my perspective, but I'm everything but not an expert here. There's also a kind of tiny submarine as well. Like, okay, there are some scientists watching this scene. Like I said, to my knowledge, it has never happened. And then we have a spider, a brick-built spider with 639 pieces, a Mexican golden red rump tarantula. 107785. This is also going to be a BlueBrixx Pro set, also designed by Matteo. Quite frankly, I've never been really into spiders, so for me this thing looks kind of ugly, but that's not BlueBrixx's fault. And I would even argue that they come up actually with quite a realistic design as far as that is possible with a brick-built spider. With that, we're moving on. By the way, I think this thing is interesting for, nature and spider enthusiasts, but could even be used, and depending on scale, of course, like a monster. So I don't know, if you're into Lord of the Rings, something like that, you could even go for the spider. With that, we're moving on to another brick head, or brick body. Sorry, brick head is what Lego calls them. I think Lego even has on brick heads a trademark. I think BlueBrixx called some brick bodies, but the idea is in general the same. Brick bodies are usually bigger than Lego's brick heads, and here we have the King, 108892. I guess it's the King of Rock. It's Elvis Presley. That's just my guess based on the suit and the microphone and being called the King and everything. Yeah, it's quite a nifty set. We like it. King is even brick built as a brick built sign. It's almost impossible to see it because, Elvis is standing in front of it. But yeah, all in all, quite a nice set. By the way, for those of you who are interested into pieces and parts, so this is a curved slope 2x2. That is actually a corner curved slope. So that's a BlueBrixx exclusive piece. They made this many, many years ago. I think it was the first piece they made on their own. And just as an FYI, to my knowledge, you can't get this piece from Lego to this day. With that, moving on to another announcement of a ModBrixx set, or BlueBrixx/ModBrixx line. So ModBrixx, for those of you who are not aware, that was actually a company and a brand on their own. And BlueBrixx acquired them and merged with them, I think, 2 years ago, maybe 3 years. Since then, BlueBrixx is not only bringing out more sets under the ModBrixx brand, but set by set, they also integrated in their own line. So they usually also have a BlueBrixx number. Some of these sets did exist previous to the BlueBrixx merger, but I'm actually not aware if this set is a new one or one of the older designs. Anyhow, it's called a modern gray sports car, which is not uncommon for BlueBrixx. Usually they don't go for a license by car manufacturers, but I don't know what this actually is. But yeah, it looks quite nice. Seems to be kind of a 6-stud car. So this is actually, from a size perspective, basically what Lego used to do in the old days with a 6-stud Speed Champion. Nowadays, of course, Lego is going bigger with 8-stud. But here you go, 108890, 237 pieces. By the way, as always, I keep repeating myself, but for those who are not familiar, BlueBrixx is doing announcements sometimes very, very early on. Sometimes between announcement and set release, it can take up to 12 months. Sometimes it goes even a lot faster. But what they all have in common is that BlueBrixx never announces any price points until the set is actually on shelves, like it is for the Brabus White Star 108282. This is actually interesting because BlueBrixx never really announces one. It just became live and became a thing. So I guess this had to do with the license deal with Brabus. Anyhow, 108282. This is basically also in a similar size ballpark than a Speed Champion would be. It's a licensed set. It's a BlueBrixx Pro set. To my knowledge, it's the first and only Brabus set that you can actually buy. I think BlueBrixx is the only company who's ever done one. Please keep me honest here if I'm wrong or mistaken. Anyhow, 255 pieces. BlueBrixx is asking for 20 bucks, 7.8 cents a piece. There's no minifigure included. And yeah, it's basically just a set. It looks like a black Mercedes G-Class, but it does have a Brabus license. In a nutshell, this is what you are getting. But yeah, looks quite nice. With that, moving on to another brick body, the Dreambringer 108889. It's also coming from the ModBrixx line. It has 237 pieces. And yeah, I guess it's at least over here in Germany, it's a very well-known tale or character, the Dreambringer. Anyhow, with that, moving on to an availability, actually, the Cyborg Model 101. I actually don't know what the reference is. Model 101, is that like Terminator from the first movie? Is this Arnold or what is that? I don't know. 108356 though. It has 310 pieces. It's gonna cost you 12 bucks. 3.9 cents a piece. Also available is the Amphibious Fire Engine 108268. I've actually never seen one of those in reality, but I guess they do exist somewhere. It's designed by Christian. It's a BlueBrixx special. It has 374 pieces and can be acquired over here for 19 bucks. That is 5.1 cents a piece. For all of you from the US, please always keep in mind, over here in Europe, that always includes value-add tax. That's just how we do things over here. Anyhow, with that, moving on to classic small car with rally stripes, 108513. I can't recall the name of the movies, but I think this specific Volkswagen Beetle was in 2 movies, if I recall correctly. One was around, the racing thing, and then the other one was around this old lady in San Francisco who doesn't want to give up her firehouse where she was living, if I recall correctly. But I haven't seen these movies for, I don't know, almost 40 years. Anyhow, BlueBrixx made a set, which is basically just a Beetle with racing stripes. It has 292 pieces. It's gonna cost you 9 bucks, 3.1 cents a piece. And then that BlueBrixx made available, I think this is one of the older ModBrixx sets. They call it the Metal Festival Entrance and Merch Store. Actually, these BlueBrixx Metal Festival sets, they have made quite a lot of these. So there's food stalls, entry barrier, and booths and toilets. So this is part of a series, and to my knowledge, this should be the last one that became actually available. And then we have the Papamobile, and I don't even know if that is like an official term in English, but in German, that's how folks call this thing. So this is basically the Mercedes G-Class, where the Pope is driving around. I actually don't know if the current Pope is still using this one, but I remember Johannes Paul using this car, I guess, after people threatened his life back in the day. 107269. Again, it's a 6-stud car, 246 pieces, 10 bucks, 4 cents a piece. What is interesting about this one, I personally think, first of all, it's a very famous car, and there's even the Pope included, which, however, is not a minifigure. BlueBrixx has minifigures nowadays, but it's actually a brick-built figure, which, however, the Pope in his robes, that actually does work. With that, moving on to Police Water Cannon 108420. I think this is how these things look over here in Europe. I guess the reference is a German police vehicle, but to be honest, I just know these things from from the news or something. I've never seen something for real. Anyhow, this set has 530 pieces. BlueBrixx is asking for 25 bucks, 4.7 cents a piece. And I mean, it looks quite boring from the outside. However, it can be opened up and you can see lots of the internals. But yeah, I always believed that, in the back there would just be a big water tank, but it seems there's also some equipment included in here as well. So yeah, I think if you open it up, it becomes kind of an interesting car. Plus, I mean, obviously, if you want to have something like a riot in your city, right? You have too many minifigures and you're looking for an interesting scene. going for a rock concert or for, some protest stuff like that could be quite exciting to bring in a lot of minifigures and crowds into your city. With that, we're moving on to another availability, the US High-Speed Chase, which basically is a US police car and a motorcycle. No minifigures included. 108,472. Again, this comes from the ModBrixx line of BlueBrixx. $9, 3.5 cents a piece. I think it's a nice and nifty design. And it's a 6-star vehicle. I guess you should be able to fit Lego minifigures on the inside. With that, we're moving on to DK, and here we have 2 dragons now on the market. 7070 is the Ice Dragon, slightly above 1,000 pieces. This is not a small dragon. It goes roughly in the ballpark of 40 to 50 centimeters. Which is quite a dragon, or that's basically 18 roughly by 20 inches. So this thing is not small. It has plus wings, which I still prefer, I should say. I mean, sometimes some manufacturers manage, or some designers manage to have good brick-built wings, usually using Technic panels, but I still believe Kloss is the best. I don't know, a lot of companies do this, like putting holes in the wings. I mean, why would like a magical creature like a dragon, being so intelligent, so evil, and so powerful, have holes in their wings? I don't know. Many companies go for that design though. Anyhow, there's first of all this white ice dragon. The concept is you have kind of a stand or a base. However, it's what they call a quick release. It's just a Technic axle. So that means you can, put this thing on its base, but also fly around with that, which is quite cool. And then they have a fire version, which is not just a different color. It's also slightly different from a building technique point of view. You can see this, for instance, in the chest, which is... Oh, wait. No, it's actually the same. It's just the angle. It's different. I don't know. What I can definitely say, though, is that the base is different. Size-wise, they're almost the same. Price-wise, they are exactly the same. Over in China, you can buy these for around $34. By the way, when I do mention Chinese retailers' prices, shipping, customs, etc., of course, really depends on where you live. So usually the price that I pick is from into Germany, because that is where I live. Anyhow, size-wise, like I said, the same, but as you can see, the base is very different. Building techniques sound or look like very similar of the dragon itself, and the fire dragon doesn't have any holes in his wings. So I don't know, maybe younger or a bit more healthy. Anyhow, with that, moving on to Funhole, and here we have a new set, the gas station 9065. As the name suggests, that's basically what it is. It is a gas station, I do assume, because it's Funhole. They don't do stickers anymore. Everything should be pet printed, BlueBrixx parts, and of course the Funhole party piece. Lighting is included as well, and 3 minifigures as far as I can tell. I think it's a really nice design. It's nothing because, it's a gas station, so it's not spectacular. But at the same time, it looks old. It looks a little bit romantic. It has a certain... I mean, if you look at the roof, it has a certain like 50s or 60s vibe, like the early days, So yeah, it should go very well together with Funhole's motel, I would argue. And as you can see, it is, because it's 25.5 centimeters by 25.5 centimeters, which is a synonym for 32 studs. So this should go also well with modular buildings, for instance. Could be good counterpart to Lego's what was it called? The garage modular building, the corner garage, something like that. Of course, this thing here has like a bazillion prints and the lighting included. But if you combine Lego's corner garage with light kit as well, this might be quite a nice solution. Please keep in mind that the company is doing these Funhole sets is also making a lot of these Lego retro lighting kits, like Lumibricks and BRIXMAX. No, not Lumibricks, that's a different company. Lighttailing, my apologies. Lighttailing and BRIXMAX. And usually, especially the BRIXMAX kits are also compatible to the Funhole stuff. So you can even, if you don't want to provide to every and each of your building with their own USB connectivity, power-wise, you can even combine these usually. you know, so that you just need one USB cable and then you have 3-4 buildings. That's at least what I usually do. Anyhow, with that, moving on to GULY, and here we have the Race Forge. At least I guess that's the name of the set. 10-6-3-8. This is a 1x8 scale supercar Technic set, 3,392 pieces. There's also a motorized version available. It has a ton of features like, you know, suspension and other things among. The color scheme is interesting. I mean, these pictures are, I'm not really sure how it will look in for real, but it seems there's kind of metallic vibe in the panels, which looks quite cool. The wheels look amazing. My guess is this is supposed to be a Lamborghini, but it comes without a license. But based on the shape of the GULY logo on the hood or the bonnet, I would argue that this is a Lamborghini, but I'm everything but for sure not a petrolhead. Like I keep saying, I don't even own a car. However, I really like this set, which actually I'm not sure if it's really new, but it was pointed out to me, so I added it to the database by somebody from the community. So this is, I mean, I say as a brand Happy Build, that is technically not true. It is by the same company that is doing Happy Build sets, but this company has multiple brands. One is Pangu, and I think another one is Powerblock. Just, I refuse to add brands all the time. A Chinese company comes up with a new brand because there are a lot of these Chinese manufacturers who like spin up brands like all the time. And I stopped following that along every time. So what I basically did is I say, okay, for me, this is Happy Build. And then I throw on a brand, what I call a subcategory. And this is now Powerblock. Anyhow, Powerblock cars are really, really cool. First of all, these are again BlueBrixx pieces. I built one before. It was also a lot of printed stuff in there. So really, and also really nice design. So I was a big fan of that. They have not that many licenses. So some of these Powerblock sets come with a license, some do not. I think I did build one of the Toyotas. To my knowledge, I did build the Toyota Supra, which was really, really cool. It was an amazing set. So if you're interested in that, I think I published also a written review on the site. So if you're not sure yet, they also have amazing packaging. It looks really beautiful, I should say. And it seems now, in addition to Toyota, they also have now an Audi license, and they went for some of the Audi Quattro Rally, you know, all-time fan favorites, some of the most successful rally cars, at least from a German car manufacturer's point of view, of all time. Really amazing. 8812. The main difference is that this is not just one car, but it's actually two cars plus a team truck, if you will, Audi team truck and a trailer, which is quite a lot of stuff in one set. So keep that in mind when you look at the price point. I'm not sure. Based on these pictures, it's hard to tell if basically this is all pad printed or also stickers included, but I do hope that there should, or I believe there should be a lot of printed pieces in there. Keep in mind though, this is a 1x32 scale set. So I put this in the category 8-star cars, and it is, I think, but I'm not really sure about the scale. Usually 8-star cars are more, in my point of view, 1x24 kind of scale, but 32 may be right as well. Anyhow, you can buy this thing in China for around $70 or $70 to $80 US. With that, moving on to GULY, and here we have a railway station, a new to the market 89136. I guess the name already tells what it is. 1,945 pieces. This is not a small set. It's roughly 28 by 40 centimeters. That is almost 16 by 11 inches. And yeah, there's a little bit of train included. The tracks are brick built, so these are not like regular tracks. And my guess is that this thing is not designed to be a train station for actually, you know, designed moving trains, brick built trains. However, I think it should be relatively easy to adapt this one. So if you're still in the market for a train station, this may be for you. There are also some light pieces or light bricks included. Personally, I've never been a big fan of light bricks, especially not so many. It's just too cumbersome. I'm a big fan of the fun whole concept, but this one here is not really for me. But anyhow, I guess that's not in the sense. It's not really, you know, the most important selling point of this set is just a huge train station. It's only going to cost you 55 bucks. Sorry. With that, moving on to Mork, and here we have 2 3-in-1 buildings. This is quite an interesting concept. Never really seen that before. I mean, obviously LEGO is doing a lot of these 3-in-1 sets, or used to do a lot of them, the creator sets. However, what LEGO usually goes for is that you have like 3 entirely different results, right? Even if it's a building-driven set, then still the buildings are all very different. This is not what Mork is going for here. What they basically do is, for instance, here they have the coffee shop, the 20204, with 875 pieces, and it's just 3 different coffee shops in 3 different design flavors, which is quite nice, I think. It's also a good idea. Really like it because... I mean, in general, of course, what LEGO is doing by means you have 3 entirely different buildings in theory is to be preferred. However, what LEGO is sometimes struggling with, in my point of view, in these 3-in-1 creator sets is that, you know, the A model is usually very good, and then, you know, B to C model, it gets worse and worse because the designers struggle to use all the pieces. However, with 3 coffee shops that are all, to a certain degree, very similar, it's very easy for Mork to basically use all the pieces in all of the models. At least I would argue, if I look at this picture right now. By the way, there's a video version of this show on Spotify, TikTok, and YouTube, of course. So those of you just listening to the audio version, that's your way to go if you also want to see what I see. But anyhow, I'm seeing here 3 coffee shops. All of 3 of them, I would argue, are basically the same from a quality point of view, by means, okay, they all have the same amount of detail, the same size, etc., which is, of course, a big benefit. There's the second set with a similar concept. They call it the Fantasy Treehouse 20206. 959 pieces, so it has more pieces. However, it is smaller, so it has a lot smaller pieces. I guess a lot of these pieces are flowers and stuff like that. And here again, I mean, it's called the treehouse, but only one of the 3 designs is actually a treehouse, right? The other 2 are basically just houses with a tree next to it. But again, 3 very distinct designs, but still all of them from a quality, detail point of view, etc., are very comparable. With that, we're moving on to my highlight of the week, The Opera by Pantasy, 85019, 5 minifigures included in this house. So this is similar to the Bakery and the Baker Street sets by Pantasy. It means these sets are highly modular, but they're not really modular buildings by means of following the original LEGO formula by means of being on 32 by 32 studs. These things are slightly smaller. They have the same depths, I think, but they do not have the width. So keep that in mind. However, because they more or less have the same depths, not exactly, I think, as you can see here on the numbers, they're roughly 24 centimeters. Depths, it should be 25 and a half for 32 studs, so maybe slightly smaller, but I think in general you can work with, you know, combine them with modular buildings. Here, for instance, you see the combination with Baker Street, which is really cool. In general, Pantasy, more and more, first of all, they're using BlueBrixx pieces, which is really awesome usually, and they also have nowadays almost every piece that you see that has a print on this actually pet printed or UV direct print, but not stickers anymore, which is really cool. There's a ton of golden pieces in there. It even looks like metallic gold, which is quite amazing. We have seen that before from Pantasy, so I'm pretty sure about that there is a lot of metallic gold in there. So from a production value point of view, quite amazing. What is interesting about this one is that the minifigures, because this is already, I think Pantasy now has in the market sets with 3 different concepts for minifigures. So the Little Prince or Le Petit Prince sets have like, and also some of the other brands that they have has like dedicated minifigures. Dedicated, I mean, it's a minifigure that can only be the Little Prince. It's not like a system where you can change anything, right? So these are specialized figures just to be one character, more like an action figure, stuff like that. Then they have sometimes minifigures, for instance, in the Sherlock Holmes sets that you see right here, they have minifigures that are extremely similar to LEGO minifigures, which of course, I don't know how it is in other regions of the world, but over here in Europe, that is a no, because LEGO has a 3D trademark on these. So you cannot import these minifigures into Europe. You will be in a lot of trouble if you try. So that's why a lot of companies who import these sets into Europe actually remove the minifigure. And now they have this third concept, and this is like a completely their own design, it seems. I don't know, maybe they are sourcing these from some of the other companies in China, but for sure they have their completely own unique design and are very distinct or very different from Lego minifigures. 5 of these are included here. Personally, I really like them, I must say. These bubble heads are, of course, not for everyone, but it's definitely a distinct and unique design. They seem to have a ton of prints on them, so very high quality, including arm prints and everything, which is really cool. I'm not really sure if I'm a fan of the eye design, but everything else looks quite nice, quite, like I said, distinct. Which I really enjoy looking at. And of course, I do hope that hopefully going forward, some of their other sets with problematic minifigures in them, like Sherlock Holmes, will get this new minifigure design as well. With that, we're moving on to TUOMU. I'm not sure, I'm pretty sure I pronounced this entirely wrong, but they have 3 new dinosaur sets. First of all, the 2018, the Pterosaur, and I have no idea if I pronounced this correctly. I guess it's kind of a Latin thing, right? So I guess I can call it whatever I want. But anyhow, 536 pieces, 22 to 23 bucks. That's quite a lot from a set in this size from China. I guess it does have a printed plug here, but yeah, there's not so much else to say about because I have only one relatively rough picture. 2016 is the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Of course, you know, if you do dino sets, you always have to do a Tyrannosaurus. 559 pieces or 559, same price point. And then you have 2019, which is a Brachiosaurus, which actually, I don't know, it looks a bit thin to me. All of these 3 sets have a certain like kids kind of vibe, anime, kind of cartoonish vibe to them, not really realistic representations of these dinosaurs, but you know, still quite nice and an interesting color choice as well. With that, moving on to the Mars exploration vehicle, which is actually a remote controlled rover, Mars rover 1009, which is really cool, I think. From a design perspective, I would personally prefer Lego's current NASA Mars rover, but this thing here is remote controlled, which of course is really amazing. It seems to have a lot of functions because there's a lot of, you know, I don't know. It would be really interesting to see like how many functions it actually does have, and you know, and also driving this thing around. As you can see, it includes a remote, but you can also use a smartphone app to drive this thing around. Then we also have a super sports car. Again, I guess a Lamborghini. But please keep me honest here. I'm really not a petrolhead. I don't even own a car. But LBGTY01 is it called. It's the 7005 by TUOMU. It has only 1,000 pieces and it's going to cost you around 35 bucks. So in general, for a Technic set in this size, I think the design looks really amazing. By the way, it says on the bonnet Lanoyini. So I guess it's going to be a Lamborghini, but without a license, of course. But my general concern or problem with this set is the blue pins. I mean, I don't know what is going on here. I will never understand why so many companies are basically copying this from Lego, because this makes so many otherwise amazing Lego sets so awful. I mean, it's not a big deal. I mean, what I usually do, I have like a couple of 100 black pins in different sizes and shapes and forms from BlueBrixx over here. So even if you can't get this pin in black from Lego, there are many other companies who are doing parts that are as good as Legos or sometimes even better in the right color. So it's not a big deal to fix this, but I still don't understand why companies are copying this awful thing that Lego's doing to so many of its Technic sets, if you ask me. It's very unfortunate. And however, they keep going with that because they also have 2 motorcycles. One, what they call the DAT V4 heavy motorcycle, the 2003, which is a 1x8 scale motorcycle that looks really cool and has only 426 pieces. It looks like a lot more. It's gonna cost you roughly 20 bucks. And yeah, it's quite a beautiful design, I must say. I'm a really big fan of this. I mean, I've never in my life ridden, I've been on the back seat once, but in general, I've never ridden a motorcycle myself, don't even own a license. But I really like this one. It has quite a nice and well-shaped design. And then you have the KZ1 Speedy motorcycle, the 7006, 460 pieces, again 1/8 scale, which I don't know, it doesn't look like it, but yeah, again, quite astonishing. The very, very tiny piece count if you look at the size of this thing. With that, we're moving on to ZHEGAO, and here we have two mini block sets from this medieval series that ZHEGAO has going on. This is a series, I would say, or would argue, where the design language is basically from Lego's medieval blacksmiths. 21326 25, something like that. Anyhow, you remember ideas, blacksmiths, the whole thing. I would argue that brought back Castle into Lego. So a set that we owe a lot to. And yeah, ZHEGAO has two additional sets from this medieval series that follow a similar design language. However, they're not compatible because these are mini blocks. Mini blocks, for those of you who don't know, this is basically, I always try to explain it the way it's like Lego Duplo is to Lego is regular bricks to mini blocks. So mini blocks is up to scale to regular bricks. It's compatible. You can combine them the same way as you can combine regular bricks and a Duplo. But like the way, it's just the other way around. I think it's scale 1/4, something like this, compared to regular bricks. So this is different from diamond or nano blocks, who are even smaller, and because they're so much smaller, they even change the entire layout and the system so that it still works and still can be handled. This is not the case here. This is really to scale to regular bricks, but it's a lot smaller, so that means you need less space and less money, because over here, for instance, you get the blacksmith shop with 1,707 pieces for less than $40, and you know, and the reason why it is so cheap is simply because it's less material. Actually, I had two of these ZHEGAO sets I want to talk about. I forgot one. Here we go. The medieval suburban tavern building was the second one, 313009. It's bigger. No, it's not big. It looks bigger, but it has more or less the same piece count and the same price. 1,682 pieces. By the way, I really like this ZHEGAO box art that they have been going on, like with a regular picture from the set and then using this art piece around it. Looks really beautiful, I must say. Other companies have been trying that. BlueBrixx is using a similar box art design, but I think whoever did this photoshopping at ZHEGAO did quite an amazing job. This is, I don't know, some of the most beautiful box arts I've ever seen, even if the two sets, you know, with blue roofs and everything, are not really to my taste. With that, we are done with set updates. Quick industry update. Lego Group. The Lego Group has presented their annual results 2024. And again, with double-digit growth. This is quite astonishing, I must say. The revenue increased by 30%, profits by 10%, and cash flow by 24%. So in a nutshell, Lego is still growing like crazy. They are even growing faster right now, maybe not from a percentage point of view, but in absolute terms, they're even growing faster than during the COVID phase and the lockdown phase, which of course a lot of folks saw, you know, as a big big boom for brick building in general, for the hobby, for the community, right? Because a lot of folks were sitting at home and had nothing to do, and had a lot of cash, you know, extra cash, because you couldn't go on vacation and stuff like that. So 2021 and 2022, of course, the growth was enormous, but Lego keeps building on top of that. It's very hard to say if that is like a general indication for the entire industry, because Lego, unfortunately, to this day, is the only company that I'm aware of that is actually publishing results. Anyhow, Lego is doing extremely well. The operating profit is also back in order. They had a certain problem the year before this one. I guess also because of all the logistics problem coming out of COVID and lockdown in China and stuff. So it seems they're back on track, but they also keep investing like crazy. As many of you know, Lego is building 2 new manufacturing plants, one in Vietnam and one in the United States, I think somewhere in the southern states. So Lego keeps doing that, keeps investing, but still is growing like crazy, which is quite astonishing. Popular themes, I think that's also always interesting, is Icons, Star Wars, Technic, City, and Harry Potter, which for me, at least to this day, comes as a surprise. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't I will never underestimate Harry Potter, but at the same time, you know, it has been quite a while since the books have been written and the original movies have been published. But still, it's going very strong for Lego. It's stronger than Marvel, for instance, which, again, is quite astonishing. Anyhow, that's about that. If you're interested, I will link the news that I published down below, and I think it's worthwhile taking a look at this overview, performance highlights of the Lego Group chart that Lego has published. With that, we are done with news and coming to a reading recommendation. I did review the Wange Space Needle set 5238. This is a typical Wange architecture set from the famous Space Needle in Seattle. And yeah, I had a lot of fun with that. Wange is really a great company. I mean, look at the design of their instructions. This is a lot of fun if you're into architecture. I also really like the set. What I usually don't like about Wange is these very ugly base that they've built. However, I mean, from my point of view, it's not the biggest deal because it's very easy to replace, right, with a couple of regular plates. For instance, also to better fit together with your Lego architecture collection. But in this specific case, even not that bad because the base is relatively small. So it's usually, because it has quite a lofty design, stability is sometimes a little bit of an issue. But this is not the case here. Plus, it's relatively small and relatively well covered. So sometimes Wange has these architecture sets where, like, I don't know, 50% of these dark bluish gray studs are like bare and not covered, which looks really ugly in my point of view. This is a lot better over here. All in all, quite a nice set. So if you're interested, you may want to check out our review of this set. But I think, yeah, they did quite, I mean, it's not perfect, but it's a nice architecture set. And I think you can buy this from China for around, $30, basically. Slightly above that. With that, we're moving on to MOCs of the week. And here we have another modification of 10362. This French cafe from this new restaurant Cafe World Series collection. I forgot the name that Lego has been doing as part of Icons, or started. I mean, this is the first set, but it sounds like Lego wants to do more. And not a big surprise, a lot of designers out there created full-blown buildings out of this pure facade that Lego has put out there. And Brick Artisan's contribution is Café Fleur, modification of set 10362, has 1,879 pieces. It's basically 32 by 32 studs. However, as you can see, he roughly used only a little bit than half of the spice. Personally, I would prefer something larger. I guess the goal here was to save pieces and not to go too far beyond the original set. But still, I think this already looks a lot better than the original set. With that, we're moving on to Type 9, a 1x300 scale model of this ship from Elite Dangerous. It's actually a free of charge mock with 3,319 pieces. I guess it has only been designed digital and not for real, but it looks like a relatively robust design. So I think this should work and not make too many problems. I'm a huge fan of these kind of designs. I mean, I've never played Elite Dangerous, so I don't know how authentic it is, but I'm a huge fan also of, let's say, hard fiction and stuff like that. And also, let's say, different science fiction than, I don't know, Star Trek and Star Wars. And I think this thing here looks a lot more realistic. It looks a lot more than, you know, a spaceship that actual humans would actually design. With that, we're moving on to a new set or design by Bertil, the Pendulum Clock. Very famous designer, has done a ton of stuff. A lot of sets, also from Chinese companies, have been made based on designs by this designer. And here we now have the Pendulum Clock, which seems has also a lot of functionality in it. I guess it does actually work to a certain degree, and it even says that there is power functions can be included as well. It also looks, I wouldn't say beautiful, it looks interesting, let's put it that way, which is a good thing. Really like this design. And then moving on to an interesting alternate build where you actually combine the Jazz Club modular building by Lego plus a Marvel workshop or garage set. And with those two together, 10-3-12 and 7-6-3-11, you get the deli store and club, which is actually a corner building. And yeah, it it is something new and something interesting. It's very hard to say, actually, if you look at it from the outside, like, where did the Marvel stuff go? But because it looks, I mean, you can easily see where the Jazz Club pieces went, but it's a bit harder to say where the Marvel sets parts went. But you don't need any additional pieces. So if you have those two sets, this may be for you. It's done by Anton Block Art. And overall, you are building with 2,745 pieces out of these two sets. Then we come to another design by Kevin Peters, 2,717 pieces in the Watermill Medieval Fantasy Display Series, which looks really amazing. I mean, personally, I don't know. I'm a huge fan of this designer's work. This one here, though, is a bit too colorful for my taste, especially I can't really stand this blue waters thing. I don't know, many designers do these, but I think maybe, you know, if you're in the Caribbean and you have, you know, the ocean, stuff like that, you could go in this color scheme. However, I guess it's very easy to replace these parts with something like trans black or trans dark brown to get a more realistic vibe into the water, and also reduce the coloring a little bit, because, you know, with all the red foliage and plants and everything, for my personal taste, there's a little bit too much color in here. But in general, it is a very beautiful design. Again, the brick building techniques that this designer is using are, you know, really astonishing. And yeah, it looks like a beautiful design. 20 euros for the instructions. With that, moving on to a Ninjago City kind of set with 3,805 parts by BlueBrixx, the Ninjago Moongate Tower, which looks really amazing. I'm a huge fan of the Ninjago City sets. The only reason why I usually don't build them is because Lego's throwing in so many stickers, which I hate stickers. Did I mention that before? You know, it's called brick building, you know, brick these things together and not stick them together with glue. But anyhow, you know, for those of you who really like Ninjago City sets but would like to see more, have more, this may be for you. I'm not really in the Ninjago game anymore by means of that my kids, you know, they've grown out of this. They're not into Ninjago anymore for several years, actually. So I don't know where the Moongate Tower and how authentic this is, but I can say it looks really amazing. And as you can see here, it has also been built for real, which is always a good sign. And then last, but surely not least, is by BlueBrixx, the Corner Botanical Garden. This is actually a design I think I've never talked about before. It has a couple of, not many designs yet in the portfolio. All of them modular buildings, or mostly modular buildings. And this one here even looks like, I'm not really sure. This picture here looks like it has been built for real, which is always a good sign. But in general, these botanical garden, since Lego was rolling out these two sets, right? The one I think was an Icons or Ideas Botanical Garden. The other one was the Friends set. And since we have these, a ton of alternate builds or modifications or sets influenced by this design by Lego have been thrown out, and I think this is one of the most beautiful ones. It's a really amazing corner build, and I really love this. Would love to have this as part of my collection. A beautiful design. Maybe Lego, that's something to look for, doing something botanical for the modular building collection. I would really love it. Anyhow, $15 for this mock design. With that, we are done with the show for this week. I do hope you liked the show, so please like, rate, comment, subscribe wherever you listen to this or watch this. Please show the algorithms some love. And next to that, of course, as always, if you have built any of these sets or any of the almost 23,000 sets that we have in the database nowadays, do me the favor, do rate this set. So there's this easy rate button here. Give 1 to 10 stars per set. That really helps out. I mean, we have like including almost the entire Lego history in the database. You can do a ton of stuff in the SetDB. It's all free of charge, of course, including completely ad-free. So just, you can maintain your collection in here, maintain your wish list, your watch list, etc. And then also provide these ratings to all the sets that you have in your collection. This really helps out folks in the community because, that is, of course, a lot more authentic than what, I don't know, some influencers are telling people which sets they should buy. So with that, we are done with the show for this week. Thanks for listening. See you next week.